Hello everyone and welcome to Sunburned Albino overvalues his own opinions and has therefore decided to make another Game of the Year list. I'll be rattling off my top 10 games of 2018 in order and explaining why, then I'll put a few games in the honorable mention category, and then I'll name a few games that are in my newly created notable exception category, games other people may have put in their lists that I purposely did not. Shall we begin? Number 10, Monster Hunter World. I like this game, but not as much as other people do, that's for damn sure. As someone who never played any Monster Hunter games before, Monster Hunter World initially drew me in with its impressive scale, weapon variability, and intensely epic monster encounters, but the overly lengthy battles and needlessly inconvenient online system eventually chewed me up and spat me out. You can't co-op main missions with your friends unless one of you has completed it already. That's so dumb! We're supposed to be experiencing this shit together, not apart and then together. That one factor completely turned me off, and for a game where cooperative play is the shining, defining conceit, throwing up arbitrary roadblocks in the path of jolly cooperation is not a recipe for success. Speaking of recipes, I want to eat all of the food in this game. Those cats make a mean dish. Also, for trivia's sake, my favorite monster is the Barroth. Where are my fellow archers at? Number 9, Super Mario Party. Mario Party has had a rough go in recent years, but Super Mario Party does a lot to bring the franchise back where it belongs, somewhere fun. For me, the only thing that sours the lemon is the fact that boards can't be played online, which is a huge drawback, and something I do not understand. Like, maybe you'd have dropouts in matchmaking, but at least have an invite system. I assume everyone can trust their friends enough not to quit on the last turn. The minigame selection is some of the strongest it's ever been. I love the motion-controlled ones, and even the rhythm ones. Super Mario Party's new modes are all welcome additions too. It's all good. It's all just good. Number 8, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Why yes, I still like Call of Duty as a series, and while I thought World War II shat the bed hard, Black Ops 4 proves that Treyarch is the champion COD developer and can always be trusted to deliver a quality product. I didn't like the Blackout Battle Royale mode as much as I thought I would. I'm probably just done with that genre in general now, but regular multiplayer's tweaks are positive and the gunplay is snappier than ever. No campaign just means I don't have anything to play 3 missions of and quit, and Zombies continues to refine itself as well. Black Ops 4 is probably my 4th favorite Call of Duty, which is not bad at all considering the quantity of competition. Number 7, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Despite being literally the 5th game where you collect gym badges in the Kanto region, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, I think, is the best version of doing that. All the mechanics it imports from Pokemon Go fit snugly into this adventure, as long as you play in handheld mode since motion controls are god-awful, and the removal of random encounters in favor of Pokemon sprites being visible on the map for you to choose who to run into is one of the best changes Pokemon has ever made in its 20-some years of existence. I hope the mainline games from now on keep that feature at least. Let's Go does a great job of endearing you to your starter Pokemon by making it insanely overpowered, and is the first Pokemon ever where I felt actually properly motivated to catch them all. I haven't, and I never will, but at least I felt like it for a second. Number 6, Mario Tennis Aces. I actually jumped on MTA for the first time in a month or so last week, and I'm pleasantly surprised by how much this game has been continually adding to itself since launch. New modes, plenty of new characters, and constant balance tweaks to keep the players happy. The campaign is who cares, but 1v1 online Mario Tennis is one of the most fun multiplayers I've ever played. I might be biased since I'm a real-life tennis player too, but Mario Tennis Aces is not only super fun, but it feels right from a realistic perspective too. The mechanics are strikingly faithful to actual ball physics, with the obvious exceptions of wacky spins and power shots and people flying around doing backflips and shit. It's a great time, and I'm a top 100 player, which makes it even better because losing sucks and I don't have to do it that often. Number 5, Celeste. You may know Celeste as the only indie game correctly nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and correct it is. Celeste is the best 2D platformer on the damn market, brutally difficult but uncompromisingly fair, with tight controls and awesome abilities. That would be fantastic all on its own, but Celeste also delivers an emotional story with hard-hitting themes of depression, mental illness, and self-doubt. The authenticity surely takes you by surprise when you first encounter it. Having something identifiable with the protagonist to fight for just makes navigating the levels even more impactful and purposeful. If you love hard platformers, you cannot miss this. If you're not good at them, watch someone play it on YouTube. I'd suggest myself, but I had to quit the series halfway in due to music copyright bullshit, the only thing that tarnished my experience playing it, but that's obviously got nothing to do with the game itself. Play it or see it. I give you the ultimatum, and you must obey. Number 4, Detroit Become Human. I absolutely love this game. The sheer choice involved, with almost all of them leading to an immediate foreseeable outcome that doesn't make you feel like you were were tricked. With so many branching pathways that all affect the story tremendously, you ain't being shoehorned into shit. The story accommodates you like a 5-star hotel and goes out of its way to make your decisions have consequences that matter. It's worth several playthroughs to see how things differ from micro to macro, and if androids ever did walk the earth, I can't say any aspect of the plot is unreasonable, despite naysayers. We're already in the middle of a technological revolution, and automation is eliminating jobs left and right. Add programmable androids to that equation and tell me everyone would welcome them with open arms. Prejudice isn't a cheap narrative tool to employ when it's based in history and fundamental human truth. What would have been unrealistic would have been to disregard human nature entirely and try to craft a story with no connection to reality, which is what some people wanted them to do for some reason. I stand by Detroit. It's a marvel of interactive storytelling. Number 3, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is the 4th Switch exclusive on this list. It's been having a tremendous year. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the culmination of everything before it, an enormous cavalcade of characters brawling it out for our amusement, and this is the best one since the last one. Ultimate has 70 plus characters in its roster, and over 7 of them are unlocked from the start. Some people are annoyed by that, but to me it brings me back to the Melee days, back when gamers actually had to work for in-game rewards rather than buying them. The single-player adventure mode is almost overwhelmingly massive, with hundreds of fights between you and the end as you collect and level up spirits and skill points in an RPG-style fashion that makes for an engaging gameplay loop. Currently, online seems to be having a slight lag issue for a percentage of participants, but we assume that will be fixed promptly because everyone knows how important Smash is, and as far as games go, it doesn't get much more important. Ultimate is everything I expected it to be, which means it's amazing. Number 2, God of War. Surprising Game of the Year winner at the Game Awards, considering everybody bet on RDR2, God of War nevertheless deserves all of its accolades. Moving from Greek to Norse mythology presents a less familiar lore system to draw from, which keeps things fresh when you're sick and tired of hearing about Zeus all goddamn day. The combat has been reworked to effectively integrate true blocking and dodging into the fray, and the entire combat and upgrade system works perfectly as intended. This God of War is a much longer and fuller experience than those of the past, and with Atreus, whose name I pronounce wrong on purpose because it's better, as a permanent assisting companion, everything feels tackleable. The only downside is that bosses, which the series is known for, have been reduced to just about garbage, with only a few exceptions. Fortunately, the overall gameplay is rewarding enough to not feel that loss too heavily. Number 1, Marvel's Spider-Man. My personal game of the year for 2018 is Marvel's Spider-Man, which I called when it was first announced. Superhero games are getting much better, and Insomniac is one of the most trustworthy developers around. Spider-Man takes some cues from the Batman Arkham trilogy, but effectively tweaks them to present a combat system that feels decidedly Spider-Man in nature, with aerial combos, gadget and environmental takedowns, and stealth sections that feel worthy of the name. Spider-Man's name, that is. The stealth sections with MJ and Miles are not worthy of that name. They are basic and easily rushed, and an unnecessarily gameplay change-up when nobody was tired of being Spider-Man or will ever be tired of being Spider-Man. The bosses are a repeated formula of dodge until you web up your foe and then combo him, but they still feel appropriately cinematic, and the thrill of just swinging around the city never really goes away. The only time you'll be banging your head against the wall is if you try for 100% completion, because be prepared to stop over 100 random crimes throughout the city. Needless to say, don't put that off till the end of the story. You will not make it. Well, that's my list. Now let's head into the honorable mentions. The first being Slay the Spire. This game is still in early access, so I'm not counting it for this year, but that doesn't negate the fact that I've put more hours into this than any other game in 2018, almost 400 at this point. Slay the Spire is a deck-building roguelike where you expend energy to play cards that attack and defend against enemies as you ascend the spire and attack its heart. With a large variety of cards, relics that buff your character, and different enemies, elite variations, and bosses, Slay the Spire has a lot to keep you coming back, as evidenced by my insistence on coming back. It also has daily challenges. Its content has all but doubled since its launch in early access. Next time you see it on sale, I heavily recommend getting it. Next up, Divinity Original Sin 2 PS4 Edition. So when I did my 2017 Game of the Year list, I hadn't played this game. I picked it up on PC around January of this year, and holy shit, it's one of my top 3 games of all time. The PS4 edition released in August this year, and I've been playing through it again with my girlfriend, which has only reinforced how in love with it I am on every level. The turn-based combat is some of the best I've ever played. The lore is rich, the character classes are diverse and malleable, the skills feel powerful, it's got a huge amount of content, and it's just phenomenal. So since it would have won my 2017 Game of the Year by a mile had I played it, I thought it deserved a shout out on this one at least. I don't count re-releases on different platforms as new games for the year they come out in, or else it would be topping this one too. Now it's time for the notable exceptions, games other people would put on their lists that I will not. First up, and the game everyone is wondering where the fuck it is, Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm exhausted on huge, sprawling open-world games. I am done with them. I can no longer invest 140 hours into one world and finish everything it has to offer. It's why I can't finish The Witcher 3 or Horizon Zero Dawn or Far Cry or Assassin's Creed or anything like that. If I buy an open-world game at this point in my life, I play it for 2 hours and never touch it again. That's what I did with Red Dead Redemption 2. And look, everyone's been like, oh, but the realism, it's so realistic. And like I said in one of my annoying video game opinion videos, visual realism is impressive. Functional realism is cumbersome and annoying. If life is primarily suffering, then the closer video games get to realism, the closer they get to suffering. And when I have to brush my horse after he rides through the mud, or clean my gun after a firefight, or backtrack because my damn hat keeps falling off, I am suffering. Next and last on my notable exception list, the Spyro Reignited trilogy. You may have seen my rant video on why it disappointed me. All that applies here. For every graphical leap and environmental triumph, there is an equal and opposing terrible character redesign, awful vehicle control, nostalgic charm remover, and never-to-be-patched glitch. It's clear they spent all their time focused on making the first game spotless while leaving especially the third one to rot in the garbage. When a remake is less polished than the 20-year-old PS1 original it came from, something has gone unacceptably wrong. I can now see why after a month and a half of release based on trophy information, only 30% of players have started the third game. Only 30% have the trophy for freeing Sheila the kangaroo, which is like the first thing you do and is required to progress. They came because they remembered the charm of the original games, and left when they realized this Reignited trilogy wasn't gonna deliver that. Well, that's going to do it for this Game of the Year video. You can see ones I made for 2016 and 17 if you like, as well as my top 10 favorite games of all time. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Sunburned Albino, and you can support the channel on Patreon until I get banned for hate speech, probably, on patreon.com/sunburnedalbino. See you guys next time.